Welcome to the PM Logic. In the previous videos, we explored the key concepts behind the project initiation, planning, and execution phases, where projects are defined, structured, and delivered through coordinated efforts. In this video, I'll explain why project closure actually matters and what structured closure really means in the professional project environments. In addition, we will review how integration management works at the end of the project and how teams perform baseline reconciliation to confirm what was planned versus what was delivered. From there, we will discuss how projects transition into the operations and the leadership responsibilities involved when ownership moves from the project team back to the business. We will also review the risk and compliance validation, capture lessons learned for the future initiatives, and examine how organizations review benefits realization once the project is complete. Finally, we will walk through the project closure checklist, the final project report, and how some organizations evaluate project outcomes using the balanced scorecard perspective. If you want to understand project management beyond textbook definitions and start thinking like a structured leader managing complex initiatives from initiation to completion, this video is for you. Let's begin. Why project closure matters at the enterprise level. Closure is not just paperwork, it's a protection. It protects organizational reputation. It safeguards executive and sponsor credibility. It reduces audit and compliance exposure. It ensures that projected benefits are not theoretical but realized. It releases the capital and strategic resources for the next initiative. And most importantly, it builds institutional knowledge. In large organizations, especially in banking, healthcare, telecom, or public infrastructure, a poorly closed project can create regulatory exposure, financial leakage, or operational instability. We have seen this in recent large scale digital transformations globally, where technology platforms were technically launched, but incomplete transition planned force expensive rework. Closure is the line between the delivery and stability. Closure is where leadership proves maturity. Now that we understand why it matters, let's define what structured closure actually means. Project closure is where governance, value realization, and reputation converge. Even terminated or failed projects require disciplined closure. In fact, failed projects require it even more. Without structured closure, organizations lose clarity on financial impact, risk exposure, and contractual liabilities. A disciplined closure ensures formal acceptance of deliverables, operational readiness confirmation, seamless transition to operations, complete documentation, institutional lessons, and no unresolved obligations. Think about large public projects like infrastructure upgrades or major IT migrations. When they close properly, stakeholders gain confidence. When they do not, media headlines focus on cost overruns, missed expectations, and accountability gaps. Closure is not about celebrating completion, it's about validating commitments. There are four types of project closures that leaders should understand. First is normal completion, where the project delivers approved scope, gained formal acceptance, and transition cleanly into operations. Second is premature termination, when strategic priorities shift or risks become unacceptable. Even then, formal financial reconciliation and documentations are required. Third is perpetual project, where the initiative transitions into ongoing operations or product management rather than formally ending. Finally, failed closure, which happens when governance is incomplete, contracts remain open, risk undocumented, and accountability are unclear. Mature organizations avoid this at all costs. Now that we understand the basics, let's move into what integration management requires at closure. During closure, integration management becomes a reconciliation exercise. First, you must deliver and validate the final product or service. It must meet the originally approved scope and stakeholder expectations. Acceptance is formal, not assumed. Second is you evaluate performance. What worked well? Where did execution struggle? Were governance processes effective? And did decision making cycles create delays? This is not about blame allocation. Instead, it's an organizational learning. Third, contracts must be closed. Vendor obligation must be fulfilled, invoices reconciled, and financial settlements completed. Unclosed contracts create audit flags and financial exposure. Consider major ERP implementations. The technical go live is visible, but contract reconciliation, vendor performance scoring, and payment approvals determine whether the financial story matches the delivery story. Once deliverables are accepted and contracts reviewed, we must reconcile performance against our original commitments. Closure requires a structured comparison between commitment and outcome. Scope must be compared to the original scope baseline. Schedule must be reconciled against the approved timeline, and cost must be analyzed against the cost baseline. Approved changes must be separated from uncontrolled scope creep, and performance metrics such as CPI, SPI, and variance at completion must be summarized. This is where professional credibility is established. If a project exceeded budget by 10%, was that due to approved strategic changes or weak scope control? If a schedule slipped, was it risk realization or governance delay? In 2023 and 2024, many large digital programs globally experienced cost increases due to inflation pressures and supply chain delays. Mature PMOs did not hide variance, they documented baseline deviation transparently and aligned sponsors to the strategic trade offs. Baseline reconciliation converts execution history into governance insights. With baseline reconciliation review, the next critical dimension is operational transition. Every project deliverable eventually transitions into operations or feeds into another initiative. A poorly executed handover can undo months of delivery success. The key component of the operational transition includes operational readiness must be assessed, knowledge transfer must be completed, runbooks and standard operating procedure must be delivered, support models must be defined, hypercare periods must be structured, service level agreements must be validated before full transfer, and ownership must formally move from project to operational teams. Consider major banking app upgrades. The launch is successful, but if call centers are not trained or monitoring teams are not ready, customer dissatisfaction increases immediately. Closure must anticipate operational reality. Leadership during transitional is equally critical. Since the team may disengage as the project winds down, knowledge drain can occur, high performers may already be reassigned, recognition must be given, career transitions must be managed, and performance documentation must be completed. Closure is a leadership moment. It determines how the team exits and how the organization remembers the initiative. With operations stabilized, governance maturity requires risk validation. Closure without risk validation exposes the organization to future liability. Therefore, all rates item must be resolved or formally transferred. Open risks must be accepted by the sponsor. Compliance sign-off must be obtained. Audit evidence must be achieved, and residual risks must be documented and formally acknowledged. In regulated industries, this step is non-negotiable. Financial institutions, for example, cannot close technology projects without confirming regulatory alignment, data protection compliance, and internal control validation. Closure is not complete until governance is satisfied. Now that risk exposure is addressed, we move into institutional learning through lesson learned in all the phases of the projects. Lesson learned are not a ritual meeting, they are knowledge captured exercise. Ask what worked well, identify what did not work well, evaluate whether objectives were fully achieved, determine how recurring problems can be prevented, and distinguish what was within the control and what was environmental. Then categorize lesson learned under people, process, technology, and governance. Mature organizations treat lesson learned as reusable assets. They feed into templates, methodology, and future decision making frameworks. Without structured learning, organization repeats same mistakes. After capturing lessons, we validate whether the project delivered its intended value. Delivery completion does not equal benefit realization. Benefits realization review compares planned benefits to the actual realized outcomes. ROI is validated. The business case is reassessed. Intangible benefits such as brand positioning, risk reduction, or operational resilience are evaluated, and strategic alignment is confirmed. Benefits realization review typically occurs months after implementation. For example, digital transformation programs often promise cost saving or efficiency gains over a multi-year horizon. Immediate closure does not measure that impact. Sponsors, not project managers, ultimately own benefit realization, but professional PMs ensure measurement frameworks exist. With benefits reviewed, we move into the formal administrative closure to ensure nothing remains open. Project closure checklist includes deliverable must be formally accepted, resources must be released and reassigned, team evaluation must be completed, contracts must be financially closed, and the final report must be issued and archived. Closure must be documented, not implied. Now let's discuss the final project report itself. An enterprise level final report includes an executive summary, financial reconciliation, risk summary, vendor performance assessment, governance approvals, executive decision outcomes, and categorized lessons. It answers one central question: did we deliver what we promised within the approved boundaries and with strategic value? This document becomes part of organizational memory in audits, in board reviews, and in future planning discussions. The project report provides traceability. With documentation complete, the final step is structured evaluation. Evaluation compares planned versus achieved outcomes. It measures economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. Evaluation criteria are defined at initiation in the business case and charter. There are different types of evaluation. Ex ante evaluation determines viability before funding. Mid-term evaluation measures performance and allow adjustments. Ex post evaluation analyzes final impact. Mature organization also evaluate through a balanced scorecard perspective, which includes financial outcomes, customer impact, internal process efficiency, and learning and growth. Delivery success alone is insufficient. Strategic contribution matters. Let's conclude with leadership takeaway. Closure is where project management maturity is revealed. It determines whether value was truly delivered, governance was respected, knowledge was institutionalized, and is the organization stronger after the initiative. Anyone can start a project, but only disciplined leaders know how to close one properly. Before we close this chapter, let's test your project management thinking with a quick challenge. Which one of the following is major risk if projects are closed informally? Here are the options on my screen. Pause the video if you need a moment, choose your answer and drop it in the comment box. Let's see how many of you think like a strategic project manager. Thank you for watching the video. If you are looking to build career in project management, transition into this field, prepare for PMP certification, or grow into more advanced role in the project management industry, this channel is designed to help you. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to the PM Logic and share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what topics you would like me to cover in the future videos. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.